Hi, Jeffrey Simmons with TGCA, and we're here with Murray Catalina, the president of our gun club, and we're going to go over conditions of guns. It's important to know what shape the gun's in, whether it's like new condition, a little wear, a lot of wear, or just plain worn out. So we're going to take a look at these guns with Murray and see what condition he's got.
Hi. As he said, Murray Catalina, Texas Gun Collectors, and we hope to get people more interested in some of these old guns by telling you a little information about them. So I've got a grouping of guns here, starting with one that has got very little finish on it. It's all original, even including the original grips, but it's been so heavily used and carried that it's just worn all the original finish off. And that does detract from the value of it. The higher the condition, the more value of these old guns. But because it's still honest and hasn't had any of the screws changed, any parts replaced, all the markings are clear, it still has good value. Are we interested in knowing values of guns like this?
No, not because that changes so much. But let's take a close-up of this. What he's talking about, the screws are all original and they haven't been messed up with the screwdrivers over time. They haven't nailed any nails in a wanted sign post or fence posts with it, but somebody's kind of engraved a little bit on the butt of the gun. It appears to have all the screws in there. There's no missing screws, so that's important. And then you have other issues that are concerned, like, is this a original sight? And on this gun it appears to be, and even the original injector. One of the things I always look for when I'm looking at conditions of guns is maybe the cylinder's a lot better condition than the rest of the gun. That means, generally to me, it means the cylinder's been replaced. Or the extractor rod, or the housing, or the barrel. So, you know, this gun's worn evenly all the way across the gun, from the grips to the side. Everything's got the same amount of wear on it. So that indicates to me that it's pretty much an original gun. Well, what's next, Murray?
Well, the next gun is, it's a 3840. It's a short barrel gun. It's a similar configuration to the first gun we looked at, although a different caliber. Oh, and I'm sorry, it's a 41 caliber. It was original factory nickel, but as you can see, a lot of the nickel plating is gone on it. And what remains where the nickel plating is gone is called patina. It's a kind of a dark chocolate brown, and it's just the natural look of the metal that occurs after years of handling. Might have had some oil on it, some dirt on it, lots of fingerprints and so on. And that process over the years creates that kind of dark brown patina. So this gun, while it still has a fair amount of original nickel on it, it's real easy to tell where the nickel is missing. The next gun is a short barrel 45 caliber, probably the most desirable caliber for collectors. 45 and 4440 are the two most common.
What's the least collectible caliber, Murray?
I would say the 3220 is the least collectible. Most of the collectors like the larger calibers, and so the 3220 is the smallest caliber that Colt made in a single action, and therefore probably the least desired.
Yeah, I believe my experience is everybody wants the 45 long cut.
Yep.
All the other calibers, especially the small calibers, aren't desired by the true collectors.
And you can see with this gun, it's got a fair amount of finish by comparison to the first gun we looked at. You can see some of the original blue on some of the parts here. On this side, you can see blue on the barrel, whereas this gun is mostly brownish gray.
Let's get a good close-up of that so we can see the differences. You can see this one in my right hand here. The bottom gun has bluing that shows on the top of the barrel and in different places, whereas the gun here on top has no bluing at all. So this gun has medium bluing. It's half the gun's blued and the other half it's worn away. Okay.
And then by contrast, we'll look at the same gun with the next gun on our table here. It's also a 41 caliber, but it is in as good a condition as most any of them that you'll see in the show. It's got a lot of the original factory bluing. and a lot of the original factory case coloring. All the markings are clear. It's a gun that just didn't get a whole lot of use. And if we look at the other side, you'll see a lot of shiny blue remaining on that gun. So the values change, and basically the high condition gun is worth more than double what the lower condition gun is, just by way of the amount of original finish remaining.
And I would say that if you find a gun that's like brand new condition, that's 100 years old, that's just an extremely valuable gun. So if you get one in the very top condition, it can value just go crazy.
The next gun I brought is, as collectors graduate up the condition scale, and they're starting to look at the really high condition guns, they also start becoming interested in factory engraved guns. And the records are not 100% clear, but it's believed that no more than 3,000 of the original first generation Colts were factory engraved. This gun was made in 1898, and it was shipped to Sherman, Texas. So that's got several factors that make it very desirable to collectors. It's antique by being made in 1898. It's factory engraved. It's got factory nickel plating, factory pearl grips, and it was shipped to Texas, which a lot of collectors find very appealing. It's got most of the original finish on it, and again, this is a very hard gun to find in this kind of condition with all those attributes.
Beautiful gun. And let's talk about the letters for just a minute. Colt issues the letters on these guns. So if you have a question about the authenticity of a gun, you can contact Colt, and you can pay for a letter, and they send that letter out. Do you have a copy of a letter?
I do. This is a Colt archive letter, and for those folks looking to obtain a letter like this, it would be coltarchive.com is your starting point, and they have the factory shipping ledgers that show where the guns were shipped and what configuration they were. This letter isn't actually the one for this gun, but the letter for this gun would look similar to this.
Verifying that this would be an original Colt engraved gun.
Yeah, and Colt, of course, charges for the letters, but it adds value to authenticate the gun by having the Colt archive letter with it.
And you can always contact one of us here at TGCA, and we'll be happy to assist you in finding a value on your gun.
And the last gun I have to show you today is one of the very most scarce guns that I own, and maybe one of the most scarce in the show. It's a factory 3.5 inch 45 caliber known as a sheriff's model. And the reason they call them either a sheriff's model or a storekeeper model, because they were made without the ejector housing on it that the longer barrel guns were made with. And the shorter barrel and the lack of ejector housing just made them more concealable. So for the nickname sheriff's model came because a lot of the lawmen back in the 1800s, 1900s, they would carry them inside their coats rather than in a holster. In town, it wasn't fashionable to carry a holster gun. A lot of the cowboys that were riding horseback carried them, but a lawman would likely have a short barrel gun concealed under his coat. This one also letters with factory carved buffalo head grips and was shipped to the Copper Queen Consolidated Mining Company in Bisbee, Arizona Territory. So it's got a lot of desirability factors. The fact that it's a sheriff's model, it's original factory nickel with most of the factory nickel remaining. It's got factory carved buffalo grips, and I've only seen a very few guns that letter with those kind of grips. Plus the shipment to Copper Queen Mining Company in Bisbee, Arizona Territory make it a very desirable configured gun.
A very beautiful condition. I can say that's at least an 80%, maybe higher.
Yeah.
Very nice.